Hello and welcome to this continuing First Look Exploring session looking at The Gentleman Usher by George Chapman from somewhere around 1602-ish. We have had a blast so far with the first couple of acts. We're midway through Act 3. We've had a couple of shows come to, into fruition here, and they were quite fun. We had some bugs, people were bugs. They enjoyed being bugs. There was some good mask action going on there. Some good speeches, some fun times were had. But now we're maybe getting more into plot stuff as Vincentio works his way into the affections, as it were, of Bassiolo, the gentleman usher of the title. So we're going to rejoin midway through Act 3, Scene 2, after a lengthy interchange, a two-hander between Vincentio and Bassiolo. And reading Bassiolo today is...
Alexandra, currently semi-transparent.
And reading Vincentio today is...
It's me, isn't it?
Yes.
It's Steve Longstaffe, bemused in the northwest of England.
Reading Lasso today is...
Alan, confused with ropes in Suffolk.
Yes, Lasso, son of Lassie. Reading Margaret today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in the southeast of England. Only slightly opaque today.
Reading Strozza today is...
Briony, Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
Reading Alphonso and Cynanche is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor and translator, backlit today in the northwest of England.
And reading Poggio and Medice today is...
Sarah Blake, sidelit in Germany.
Reading Cortezza and Benevemus is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm 6 days away from being on vacation, and I'm in the Northwest United States.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally moving things forward. Oh, I'm also reading First Huntsman. Who knew? Okay. I didn't. I'd forgotten. Okay, without further ado, we're going to move forward. So we're midway through a scene with Bassiolo having just said ta-ta to Vincentio, and we're going to go, he's just talked to the audience and says, ha-ha, my cunning plan is working. At which point, enter Poggio in haste, Strozza following.
Horse, 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 my lord, horse! Your father is going a-hunting.
My lord horse? You ass, you! You call my lord horse?
Nay, he speaks huddles still. Let's slit his tongue.
Nay, good uncle, now. Splud, what captious merchants you be. So the Duke took me up even now, my lord uncle here, and my old lord Lasso. By heaven, ye are all too witty for me. I am the veriest fool on you all, I'll be sworn.
Therein thou art worth us all, thou knowest thyself.
But your wisdom was in a pretty taking last night, was it not, I pray?
Oh, for taking my drink a little. If faith, my lord, for that, you shall have the best sport presently with Madame Cortezza that ever was. I have made her so drunk that she does nothing but kiss my lord Medice. See, she comes riding the Duke. She's passing well mounted, believe it.
Enter Alphonso, Cortezza, leaning on the Duke, Cynanche, Margaret, Bassiolo first, 2 women attendants, and Huntsman, and Lasso, and everyone, basically.
Alphonso has the first line.
Beg your pardon. Good wench, forbear.
My lord, you must put forth yourself among ladies. I warrant you have much in you if you could show it. See, a Chico 20, the body of a George, a good leg, still a good calf and not flabby, not hanging. I warrant you a brawn of a thumb here, and 'twere a pulled partridge. Niece Meg, thou shalt have the sweetest bedfellow in him that ever called lady husband. Try him, you shamefaced baby. Try him.
Good madam, be ruled.
What a nice thing it is. My lord, you must set forth this gear and kiss her. In faith, you must get you together and be not so wild. Get you together.
Now, what a merry, harmless dame it is.
My lord Medici, you are a right nobleman, and will you do a woman right in a wrong matter? And need be, pray, do you give the Duke ensample upon me? You come a-wooing to me now, I accept it.
What mean you, sister?
Pray, my lord, consider me as I am, a woman.
Lord, how I have whittled her.
You come a-wooing to me now, pray thee, Duke, mark me, Lord Medici, and do you mark me, virgin. Stand you aside, my lords, all, and give place. Now, my lord Medici, put case I be strange, a little, yet you like a man, put me to it. Come, kiss me, my lord, and be not ashamed.
Sarah?
I
I think, Medici?
Not I, madam. I come not wooing to you.
Oh, 'tis no matter, my lord. Make as though you did, and come kiss me. I won't be strange a whit.
Why, sister, you're to blame. Pray, will you go into your chamber?
Why, hark you, brother.
What's the matter?
Do you think I am drunk?
I think so, truly.
But you are sure I am drunk.
Else I would not think so.
But I would be glad to be sure on it.
I assure you then.
Why then, say nothing and I'll be gone. God be with you. Lord Duke, I'll come again anon.
Exit Cortezza.
I hope your grace will pardon her, my liege. But 'tis most strange. She's as discreet a dame as any in these countries, and is sober, but for this only humour of the cup.
'Tis good, my lord, sometimes. Come, to our hunting now. 'Tis time, I think.
The very best
very
time
best
of the
time
day,
of
my
the day.
lord.
My lord.
And my lord, I will take my leave till night, reserving thanks for all my entertainment till I return. In meantime, lovely dame, remember the high state you last presented, and think it was not a mere festival show, but an essential type of that you are, in full consent of all my faculties. And hark you, good my lord.
And he whispers to Lasso. Vincentio and Strozza have all this while talked together a pretty way.
Now, they whisper some private order. I dare lay my life for a forced marriage twixt my love and father. I therefore must make sure. And, noble friends, I'll leave you all when I have brought you forth and seen you in the chase. Meanwhile, observe in all this time this solemn hunting lasts my father and his minion Medice, and note if you can gather any sign that they have missed me and suspect my being, and if which fall out, send home my page before.
I will not fail, my lord.
Medici whispers with First Huntsman all this while.
Now take thy time.
I warrant you, my lord, he shall not scape me.
Now, my dear mistress, till our sport's intended, and with my absence I will take my leave.
Bassiolo, attend you on my daughter.
Exeunt Alphonso, Lasso, Medici, Strozza, Poggio, Huntsman, and attendants, leaving various people on stage.
I will, my lord.
Now will the sport begin? I think my love will handle him as well as I have done.
Exit Vincentio.
Madam, I take my leave, and humbly thank you.
Welcome, good madam. Maids, wait on my lady.
And exits Cynanche, various other people leaving Bassiolo and Margaret. But before we go into that scene, or that unit of action, just generally make sure everyone's on the same page. We know where we are. Hunting going on. People are sort of setting up plots or hinting at things. Alphonso sort of hinting, of course, that hopefully, him and Margaret will get together. It'll be all taken very seriously. Cortezza is quite drunk. quite delightfully drunk, actually. I quite like that scene. It's quite nicely following on from the earlier scenes. It does seem like, yeah, more drinking possibly has occurred than earlier. That this is all going on in time. Any thoughts on the room before we go forward, as we say, just get back in play? Elizabeth?
I loved what Cortezza said about her leg. She has this fixation upon legs. And like I love it in early modern plays where they talk about a leg or a thigh, because those things were, quite risque at the time compared to now.
She demonstrated her leg very forcefully the last time, and was quite insistent about it. Lynn, muted at present.
Actually, I think in that speech, Cortezza is talking about the Duke. She's describing how he's got a 20-year-old cheek, even though he's probably 50, and that's his leg that she's talking about. That she's describing his person.
I think she's
but
been
it's
quite
interesting that she talked about her legs at one scene and his legs and another. There's some obsession with legs. It's kind of dirty.
It's because they had those hose on, didn't they?
Yeah, actually, a good leg was extremely important for men. That was really sort of a barometer of their attractiveness. Is a firm, muscular leg
with a nice thigh.
Yes.
Those pumpkin holes were short, man.
I'll go to Sarah, then Aliki.
It also really marks up the point that actually she is probably closer to the Duke's age as well. She is the one he should be marrying, which is kind of that scene could really highlight that in quite a funny way. What I wanted to flag up was that weird little exchange between Medici and the Huntsman, because that came out. I was playing Medici and I was just like, whoa, what's happening here? Now take thy time, I warrant you, my lord, he shall not escape me. There's clearly been some plotting going on there, but there was no stage direction, I don't think, was there?
There's a little stage direction saying that people are whispering to each other.
But we don't know who this Huntsman is.
Last time, Medici was talking to a servant who may be the same person.
Oh, okay.
Because Medici is planning to murder Strozza. It was this tiny scene at the beginning of the act where he said, "Aha, I've had enough of Strozza. You will murder him for me, won't you?" And he said, "Yes." So,
right, yeah,
okay. So if the servant
that.
and the huntsman are the same person, then that all sort of links together. I mean,
because otherwise it's all going very Snow White. I'm like, what's he going to do? Take him into the forest and attempt to cut his house out? Who knows?
Aliki, then Alexandra.
Oh, just a tiny little thing. The business with the Duke's leg. Yeah, as long as hose were worn, it was also the fashion. Well, men who didn't have very good calves would stuff their hose with sawdust or other things to make it look like they were muscular. So you could have a nice little gag there with the Duke's leg leaking sawdust as he goes.
She could give it a playful tweak and bit of it might move.
What a firm thigh you have.
The old cucumber problem.
Alexandra.
I wanted to point out the troubles that you've had with who is going in, who is going out, who stays, who exits, etc., which of course is trouble that we are experiencing on paper. But clearly this is meant to be a big crowded scene in which lots of people keep moving around, and so I think as an audience that would be, however that were to be staged, it would be really interesting to be able to follow all these plots as they develop. So there's those two people talking to each other in whispers while I'm listening to these two, and then I hear them over there, and then suddenly I find out that the two who had been whispering were, Medici and the Huntsman, and I'm just catching the end of the plot. So I think it gives opportunities in a modern staging, as well as presumably at the time. It gives a lot of opportunities for this very masterful direction.
And also, it's a deliberate contrast, I feel, that because we've just had this very long two-hand scene, and we're about to have potentially another reasonably long two-hand scene. So having a big flurry of people Just to remind also everyone who everyone is, and just get everyone sort of back in the zone and just go, oh, Medici's doing something naughty. Yeah, there was a thing at the beginning of the act where he was saying that, and just getting everyone back in the flow of it. I think that's quite dynamically important as well. Anyway, we should find out what this little conflab is, because everybody's exited apart from Bassiolo and Margaret. So let's see where this goes.
So, mistress, this is fit.
Fit, sir? Why so?
Why so? I have most fortunate news for you.
For me, sir? I beseech you, what are they?
Merit and fortune, for you both agree. Merit what you have and have what you merit.
Lord, with what rhetoric you prepare your news?
I need not, for the plain contents they bear, uttered in any words, deserve their welcome, and yet I hope the words will serve the turn.
What? In a letter?
Offers her a letter.
Why not? Why not?
Whence is it?
From one that will not shame it with his name, and that is Lord Vincentio.
King of heaven! Is the man mad?
Madam, why?
Oh, heaven! I muse a man of your importance will offer to bring me a letter thus.
Why, good mistress, are you hurt in that? Your answer may be what you will yourself.
Aye, but you should not do it. God's my life. You shall answer it.
Nay, you must answer it.
I answer it? Are you the man I trusted and will betray me to a stranger thus?
That's nothing, dame. All friends were strangers first.
Now, was there ever woman overseen so in a wise man's discretion?
Your brain is shallow. Come, receive this letter.
How dare you say so, when you know so well how much I am engaged to the Duke?
The Duke? Proper match. A grave old gentleman has beard at will, and would, in my conceit, make a most excellent pattern for a potter, to have his picture stamped on a jug, to keep ale nights in memory of sobriety. Here, gentle madam, take it.
Take it, sir? Am I a common taker of love letters?
Common? Why, when received you one before?
Come, 'tis no matter. I had thought your care of my bestowing would not tempt me thus, to one I know not. But it is because you know I dote so much on your direction.
On my direction?
No, sir, not on yours.
Well, mistress, if you will take my advice at any time, then take this letter now.
'Tis strange. I wonder the coy gentleman that seeing me so oft would never speak is on the sudden so far rapt to write.
It showed his judgment that he would not speak, knowing with what a strict and jealous eye he should be noted. Hold, if you love me, if you love yourself, now will you take this letter, pray be ruled?
Gives her the letter.
Come, you have such another plaguey tongue, and yet in faith I will not.
Drops the letter.
Lord of heaven, what, did it burn your hands? Hold, I pray, and let the words within it fire your heart.
Gives her the letter again.
I wonder how the devil he found you, out to be his spokesman. Oh, the Duke would thank you if he knew how you urged me for his son.
Reads the letter.
The Duke. I have fretted her, even to the liver, and had much ado to make her take it, but I knew 'twas sure, for he cannot turn and wind a woman like silk about his finger. For he that cannot turn and wind a woman like silk about his finger is no man. I'll make her answer to it.
Oh, here's good stuff. Hold, pray, take it for your pains to bring it.
Returning the letter.
Lady, you err in my reward a little, which must be a kind answer to this letter.
Nay then, in faith, 'Twere best you brought a priest, and then your client, and then keep the door. God's me, I never knew so rude a man.
Well, you shall answer. I'll fetch pen and paper.
Exit Bassiolo.
Poor Usher, how wert thou wrought to this break? Men work on one another for we women. Nay, each man on himself, and all in one say, no man is content that lies alone. Here comes our gulled squire.
Re-enter Bassiolo.
Here, mistress. Right.
What should I write?
An answer to this letter.
Why, sir, I see no cause of answering it. But if you needs will show how much you rule me. Sit down and answer it as you please yourself. Here is your paper. Lay it afore you.
Lady, content. I'll be your secretary.
He sits down to write.
I fit him in this task. He thinks his pen the shaft of Cupid in an amorous letter.
Is here no great worth of your answer, say you? Believe it is exceedingly well writ.
So much the more unfit for me to answer, and therefore let your style and its contend.
Well, you shall see I will not be far short, although indeed I cannot write so well when one is by, as when I am alone.
Oh, a good scribe must write, though 20 talk, and he talked to them too.
Well, you shall see.
He writes.
A proper piece of scribeship, there's no doubt. Some words picked out of proclamations, or great men's speeches, or well-selling pamphlets. See how he rubs his temple. I believe his muse lies in the back part of his brain, which, thick and gross, is hard to be brought forward. What? Is it loath to come?
No, not a whit. Play, hold your peace a little.
He sweats with bringing on his heavy style. I'll ply him still till he sweat all his wit out. What, man? Not yet?
You will extort it. You'll not extort it from a man. How do you like the word endear?
Oh, fire upon it.
Ah, nay, then I see your judgment. What say you to condole?
Worse and worse.
Brave, I should make a sweet answer if I should use no words but your admittance.
Well, sir, write what you please.
Is model a good word with you?
Put them together, I pray.
So I will. I'll warrant you.
He writes.
See? Now it comes pouring down.
Shall see. I hope you'll take no exceptions to believe it.
Out upon it. That phrase is so run out of breath in trifles that we shall have no belief at all in earnest shortly. Believe it, 'tis a pretty feather. Believe it, a dainty rush. Believe it, an excellent coxcomb.
So, your exceptions sort very collaterally.
Collaterally? There's a fine word now. Rest in that if you can by any means.
I thought you would like the very worst of them all. How think you? Do not I write in here and talk too now?
By my soul, if you can tell what you write now, you write very readily.
That you shall see straight.
But do you not write that you speak now?
Oh, yes. Do you not see how I write it? I cannot write when anybody is by me.
God's my life. Stay, man. You'll make it too long.
Now, if I cannot tell what belongs to the length of a lady's device, faith.
But I will not have it so long.
If I cannot fit you.
Oh me, how it comes upon him. Prithee, be short.
Well, now I have done, and now I will read it. Your lordship's motive, accommodating my thoughts with the very model of my heart's mature consideration, it shall not be out of my element to negotiate with you in this amorous duello, wherein I will condole with you that our project cannot be so collaterally made as our endeared hearts may very well seem to insinuate.
Oh, no more. Fie upon this.
Fie upon this? He's accused that has to do with these unsound women of judgment. If this be not good, in faith,
But 'tis so good, 'twill not be thought to come from a woman's brain.
That's another matter.
Come, I will write it myself.
She sets down to write.
Oh, God's name, lady, and yet I will not lose this, I warrant you. I know for what lady this will serve as fit.
And folding up his letter.
Now we shall have a sweet piece of indictment.
How spell you foolish?
Foolish. I should presume to indict that I cannot spell.
How spell you usher?
Blood, you put not those words together, do you?
No, not together.
What is betwixt, I pray?
As the.
As the betwixt foolish and usher. God's my life, foolish as the usher.
Nay then, you are so jealous of your wit. Now read all I have written, I pray.
I am not so foolish as the usher would make me. Oh, so foolish as the usher would make me. Wherein would I make you foolish?
Why, sir, in willing me to believe he loved me so well, being so mere a stranger.
Oh, so you may say so indeed.
Cry mercy, sir, and I will write so too.
She begins to write, but stops.
And yet my hand is so vile. Pray thee sit thee down and write as I bid thee.
With all my heart, lady. What shall I write now?
You shall write this, sir. I am not so foolish to think you love me, being so mere a stranger.
So mere a stranger.
And yet I know love works strangely.
Love works strangely.
And therefore take heed by whom you speak for love.
Speak for love.
For he may speak for himself.
May speak for himself.
Not that I desire it.
Desire it.
But if he do, you may speed, I confess.
Speed, I confess.
But let that pass. I do not love to discourage anybody.
Discourage anybody?
Do you or he pick out what you can, and so farewell.
And so farewell. Is this all?
Aye, and he may thank your siren's tongue that it is too much.
A proper letter, if you mark it.
Well, sir, though it be not so proper as the writer, yet 'tis as proper as the indicter. Every woman cannot be a gentleman usher. They that cannot go before must come behind.
Well, lady, this will I carry instantly. I commend me to you, lady.
Exit Bassiolo.
Pitiful usher, what a pretty sleight, goes to the working up of everything. What sweet variety serves a woman's wit. We make men sue to us for that we wish. Poor men, hold out a while and do not sue. And spite of custom, we will sue to you.
Exit Margaret. End of the act. I thought I'd let that flow because it's an odd scene. I mean, because I don't know. The question I'm constantly going is, why is she doing this? What is the motivation behind this beyond just making fun of this guy who's there to do what she tells him? It unlike the previous scene where you could go, Vincentio has an aim with getting this guy on his side. So yes, he might be relishing making fun of him, but he does actually have an aim for it. I'm not sure what the motivation beyond doing the scene that the playwright had in mind, doing a letter thing, which is it's a witty kind of scene, but it's sort of, I don't know what the motivation for any of it is. Aliki, then Lynn, then Alan.
Well, I was going to say pretty much that. The thing that kept occurring to me with her harping on particular bits of vocabulary is was it the poetaster where somebody was throwing up words? It's almost as if the target is off stage somewhere. Somebody is being made fun of for their vocabulary and their elaborate way of phrasing things. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense unless you want to show us that she's as manipulative and unpleasant as her boyfriend.
Yeah, because I really feel sorry for Bassiolo because he's trying his best and she's just being really constantly awkward, and parts of it are quite funny. There is nice things about the conventions of writing letters and stuff that's going on there, but and it's nice he gets his recurring laugh line at the end of "I commend me to you," which he's now learned by rote and will say every time and probably get a little chuckle from the audience. Lynn, then Alan.
Yeah, I'm wondering about this scene. It's like, why is she pretending that Vincentio is practically a stranger to her when it was certainly strongly implied in the first part of the sessions that they were kind of a done deal. So the only thing I can think of, she says, we make men sue to us for that we wish. We make men beg us for what we want to give them. Poor men hold out a while and do not sue. So maybe she's saying, maybe it's time for me to play a little hard to get with Vincentio. So I have to pretend to his agent that I barely know him and find this request of his very presumptuous. I have to hold out because it's time to play hard to get to Vincentio, and I have to convince Bassiolo as well. That's all I can think of. But yeah, it's just like Chapman had some funny jokes that he wanted to use, like a sort of weird version of that echo scene that we see a couple of places with him writing just the last couple of letters of the line. And I don't know, so he's got some gags that he wants to use and he sort of shoehorns them into this scene.
Yeah, it did feel like there's a whole letter writing thing. I mean, I did like the foolish, how do you spell Usher? That bit I thought was genuinely funny. I really liked that bit. I thought that was a nice little gag. Alan, then Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, given that she was the one who'd suggested to Vincentio that Bassiolo was the person to corrupt to get access to her, it just struck me as rich bitch playing silly games purely for the sake of it.
Yeah, because Margaret is the one who says, "I wonder how the devil he found you out to be his spokesperson," and it's going, "Well, you told him to." We were there, and so yeah, definitely a game is being played here. I think that's reasonable. It's a very extended scene to be playing this game over, and especially as you're not quite sure why and how and things. Sarah, and then Stephen.
There is part of me that is just wondering if Chapman was a fan of the Spanish tragedy and decided he wanted to put his own letter writing scene in. Is it the Spanish tragedy or is it Hieronymo that has the scene with the letter?
Yeah, but both of those letter writing scenes are probably only just coming onto the market now as this play is being written. I don't think they necessarily precede it by any meaningful date.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, it just struck me that he wants to put in a fun letter writing scene. He's maybe seen this somewhere and thought, oh, this is good. And he wants to put in a fun letter writing scene. But it could also be that he's wanting to, what you were saying about the game that's being played, that he's making a point about games that are played, because this whole play so far has been a series of not games, etc. exactly, but pastimes. It's been a whole series of fun events. You know, we had the poem, the presentation early on, then we had the mask, then we've had hunting, and in between we've had these two one-on-one scenes with the same character, where he is the one who is being gamed. He is the one who is being made fun of for really the very slightest of reasons. So I'm just wondering if there is something about, you know, when people play these games, who is the victor, and how many of the people playing are actually wanting to genuinely take part. And what happens if you end up playing a game that you had no intention of playing? I'm wondering if there's something deeper going on here, or whether it's just that he just wanted to put in a letter writing scene. I don't know, but I am intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about the games people play. This whole act seems to be about that. We've had 2 scenes with 2 people manipulating the Gentleman Usher in slightly different ways. And it does seem that the whole play is orbiting this. This seems like a very deliberate structural thing that's going on here. So I think there might be more to it than we've been giving it credit. So yes, I'm agreeing with there. Stephen, then Briony, then Alexandra.
The business with the words not being understood and being used wrongly reminds me of some of the parts associated with William Kemp in the 90s. There's one which has got the word condoling in it, for example. And I wonder if it's, to sort of riff on what people are saying about it's a riff on. I wonder if, somebody has finally kind of cracked how to get that idiot sort of malapropistical guy into a comedy. And it's they're not kind of blustering around and being all braggadocio. It's a kind of courtly version of that, where, he seems to be the perfect courtier. And then you actually find out what he's like. And he's an idiot in the same way that XYZ straight clown roles were recognizable as idiots. It was a kind of signature of clown characters in the 90s, I think, not just Kemp's, but Kemp's are the memorable ones. So I wonder if there is some quite sophisticated theatrical gagging going on there in finding a new way to get this old comic convention into the play.
Briony.
I got slightly confused with my point, so it doesn't really stand quite as well. I just wonder how the way we have dissected this in our reading it will have affected the way these last 2 scenes have landed, in terms of it being 2 sort of two-handers. Because in my mind, I was thinking it was one ridiculously long scene, but it isn't. But yeah, I just wonder how different it would feel having these 2 quite protracted 2-people scenes close together in the middle of the play like this, after we've had such big action-packed scenes full of people.
No, absolutely. I think it's a really good point, and it's a massive part for whoever's playing Bassiolo here. That's a big star sort of role. I mean, I don't know how much beyond this scene this act that he's going to get, but that's a massive bit of business on top of a role which was reasonably active in the first 2 acts. So it's a really interesting, just on an acting point, the performer side of things as well. And we've got 2 very big dialogue scenes back to back, with a little bit in the middle to remind everyone who everyone is. Alexandra.
Yeah, similar to what you're saying and what Stephen is saying, I was wondering whether this might be sort of an experiment on, or a development of, a new form of clowning. Because yes, it is a big part in terms of amount of things to say, and also it's not a character who is playing stupid. They are being manipulated, but it's not because he is inept at, for instance, letter writing. Like, he does write a business letter, basically. He can spell properly, and can figure out the sort of potential joke that's being played on him in terms of foolish usher, and then foolish ass the usher, and so on. So his brain does work. It's possibly the idea of it being someone who is efficient, who's a lower class character who is in a position of servitude, like a lot of clowns, who is sort of trying to basically not necessarily think his way forward, but that we get that in other kinds of clowns where they outsmart everybody else, and that's funny. This one is trying to please everyone, and therefore has to sort of tie himself up in knots and deal with all the whims of this in this particular scene, of this character who is in a higher position than him and so on. So I wonder whether that's supposed to be the case, including what Briony said of it being actually a really long scene. So he's struggled with one person, then there's a big chunk of everyone around doing things, and then we're back to him having to deal with pleasing a master. And the fact that he's a put upon servant is the joke. But it's a different kind of putting upon. Several different.
Right. I think we've got lots of ideas whirling around here, and we can explore further as we go into Act 4. Hold on to any additional thoughts you may have. Assuming this is indoor and for there's music between acts, which we've got clues that it is. Act 4, Scene 1, enter Poggio running in and knocking at Cynanche's door.
Oh God, how weary I am. Aunt! Madam Cynanche! Aunt!
Enters Aunt Cynanche.
Oh, no?
Oh God, Aunt! Oh God, Aunt! Oh God!
What bad news brings this man? Where's my lord?
Oh, Aunt, my uncle. He's shot.
Shot? Why me? How is he shot?
Why, with a forked shaft as he was hunting. Full in his left side.
Oh, me accursed! Where is he? Bring me where?
Coming with Dr. Benevemus. I'll leave you and go tell my Lord Vincentio.
Exit Poggio. Oh, drama between the acts. Oh, how Chekhovian. Enter Benevemus with others, bringing in Strozza with an arrow in his side.
A sad sight. I dare not yield to grief, but force feigned patience to recomfort him. My lord, what chance is this? How fares your lordship?
Wounded and faint with anguish. Let me rest.
A chair.
Oh, doctor, is it a deadly hurt?
I hope not, madam, though not free from danger.
Why pluck you not the arrow from his side?
We cannot, lady. The forked head so fast sticks in the bottom of his solid rib.
No mean then, doctor. Rests there to induce it?
This only, my good lord, to give your wound a greater orifice, and in sunder break the pierced rib, which being so near the midriff and opening to the region of your heart, will be exceeding dangerous to your life.
I will not see my bosom mangled so, nor sternly be anatomized alive. I'll rather perish with its stickings still.
Oh no, sweet doctor, think upon some help.
I told you all that can be thought in art, which since your lordship will not yield to use, our last hope rests in nature's secret aid, whose power at length may happily expel it.
Must we attend at death's abhorred door, the torturing delays of slavish nature? My life is in mine own powers to dissolve, and why not then the pains that plague my life? Rise, furies, and this fury of my bane assail and conquer, what men madness call that hath no eye to sense, but frees the soul, exempt of hope and fear, with instant fate, is manliest reason. Manliest reason, then, resolve and rid me of this brutish life. Hasten the cowardly protracted cure of all diseases. King of physicians, death, I'll dig thee from this mine of misery.
Oh, hold, my lord. This is no Christian part, yet scarce manly. when your mankind foe imperious death shall make your groans his trumpets to summon resignation of life's sport, to fly without resistance? You must force a countermine of fortitude, more deep than this poor mine of pains, to blow him up and spite him, live, victor, though subdued. Patience in torment is a valor more than ever crowned the Alcmanian conqueror.
Rage is the vent of torment. Let me rise.
Men do but cry that rage in miseries, and scarcely beaten children become cries. Pains are like women's clamours, which the less they find men's patience stirred, the more they cease. Of this 'tis said, afflictions bring to God, because they make us like him, drinking up joys that deform us with the lusts of sense, and turn our general being into soul, whose actions, simply formed and applied, draw all our body's frailties from respect.
Away with this unmedicinable balm of worded breath. Forbear, friends, let me rest. I swear I will be bands unto myself.
That will become your lordship best indeed.
I'll break away and leap into the sea, or from some turret cast me headlong down to shiver this frail carcass into dust.
Oh, my dear lord, what unlike words are these to the late fruits of your religious noblesse?
Leave me, fond woman.
I'll be hewn from hence before I leave you. Help me, gentle doctor.
Have patience, good my lord.
Then lead me in, cut off the timber of this cursed shaft, and let the forked pile canker to my heart.
If it's me, my text just disappeared.
Oh, no.
It is.
Oh, no. It is you.
It's me.
It's right, I'm pasting it.
So close, and yet so far.
I was enjoying her, too.
'Tis in the chat.
Oh, never shall my counsels cease to knock at thy impatient ears till they fly in
There's one
salve
more. Sorry.
with Christian patience pagan sin.
Up a tad.
There's a line before that. Sorry, my dear.
Sir. Dear Lord, resolve on humble sufferance.
I will not hear thee, woman. Be content.
Oh, never shall my counsels cease to knock at thy impatient ears till they fly in and salve with Christian patience pagan sin.
And exit. I mean, it's an interesting. I'm not sure precisely how to make this scene because, I mean, the description of the wound. This is not good. This is not. Oh, it's a tiny little prick here. This is a tricky thing to get out. Yeah, I mean, because part of it, the way it's written seems to be suggesting that he's just melodramatically overplaying it. But actually, the description of the wounds, I'm sort of going here, no, this is some bad stuff. You could really seriously die very, very soon if you do not figure out how to get the damn thing out. So, yeah, there's all sorts of interesting questions about that. Lynn, then Aliki.
Stephen was actually before me.
Oh, Stephen. I didn't see.
No, I'm sure Lynn's got a better point. I'll wait.
I doubt it. I was going to say, this is so odd. It just seems like this is a scene from a different play than the scene before it. And it's very striking, this sort of detailed anatomy. And it's like the author's showing off that he knows something about surgery. I'm going to have to break your rib to get the arrowhead out because otherwise it might pierce your heart. I mean, like, that's so specific. So technical. So it's just very odd. But another thing that I observed in a completely different angle is that the characters sort of remain consistent. So Cynanche or Cynanche, I was saying yesterday, she seems like this sort of level-headed, reasonable person. She's just sort of got both feet on the ground, and she continues to be that she's like, oh my God, my husband's injured, but I have to remain calm for his sake. And she keeps telling him, you like, stop this talk of suicide. That's not good in a Christian context. That's the worst thing you could do. You need to, be patient and soldier on. So, I mean, she just continues to be like reasonable and level-headed and kind of morally strong. Like she's exactly the character that she was signaled to be in the first two acts. So I'm impressed with that consistency of her character.
Yeah, and it's said if assuming that this is something where there is an explicit interval between Act 3 and Act 4, this is opening Act 4 with a sudden moment. You can almost hear the blackout between, assuming that you in a modern theatre, the blackout between the scenes of everyone come running on. There is that sense of offstage action, and it's just waking everybody up after a break, and just getting them back into the scene. So dramatically, I think it works really well. And it's interesting. Act 3 began in a similar way because Act 3 opened with "Mwahaha, I am going to kill Strozza," and Act 4 opens with "Strozza's been hit by an arrow." Aliki, then Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I don't see any room to take this as humorous, really, because it's clearly a very serious wound. And I think, given the surgery and your chances of surviving, if there are any actual organs touched, never mind, I'll just die in peace, doesn't seem that unreasonable conclusion on Strozza's part. And I'm also absolutely struck by how when my lines disappeared, the words that came to me and that I typed in the chat were, "Oh, shut up and take it like a woman," which is pretty much what she says to him when my lines reappeared.
Stephen.
I thought it was hilarious. I'm sorry. I don't know why. One thing is, I think I was kind of primed by the previous scene, and that whole thing about the rhetoric just kind of not quite matching. And what seemed there to me is this sort of great big mismatch, where you go straight into some kind of Roman suicide stoicism. Let me leave. It just flows so quickly, and I guess I'm used in plays to we get a bit of a build up to this, Roman virtue or Stoic virtue or whatever. It's typically associated with a character, and here, and I could have just been inattentive earlier in the play. This kind of seems so much like somebody's looking this shit up on their phone, rather than it coming from them personally. It's kind of, oh, great, I've got an arrow. Right, I finally get my monologue. Right, what does a monologue say? Oh, I know. I remember. There's this really good, monologue about fucking Hecuba or somebody. I'll just do that. And so, I don't know, it's just kind of the way it skips, the needle skips. My metaphor was drawn from gramophones, children. But it could just be my kind of inattentiveness. But I did think it was. All right, let's put it another way. You could play it as funny if you choose, and it wouldn't be too much of a wrench, perhaps.
Yeah, I have to say that's how I felt about everything Strozza was saying. Was it just felt so over the top? I mean, because there's part of me going, well, the description of the wound and where it is makes me think that possibly the doctor, because I'm going, well, you could get it out that way, but but open heart surgery seems rather an excessive way to get an arrow out that's stuck in a rib. It just sort of going, there might be an easier way of getting this out. I'm just saying. Briony.
Yeah, I read it that way, which probably didn't help if it was supposed to be serious. But it was the way he was going on about how manly he was with it all as well. Like, I'm moaning about how much pain I'm in, but I'm really manly, and I'm just going to die because that's the manly way to deal with this. Who needs doctors? Meh. So yeah, I don't know how. Maybe someone else could make it more of a serious, poignant death, but not me.
He's not dead yet, by the way. But yeah, and which is possibly what makes it funny. Lynn, then Alexandra.
Yeah, I had to really laugh at Aliki's point. Her subtext perhaps being, "I've been through childbirth. Get over yourself."
Alexandra.
The description, I've scrolled away from it now, so I'm trying to find it again. The description, the response of the doctor to, is there no way of fixing this, is just a description of, well, we're going to have to operate. And, it'll be dangerous for us to operate on you, because it would be on your chest. It doesn't say anything about addressing the heart. It's just we have to give your wound a greater orifice. We have to make a bigger hole and then take away the rib that it's stuck in, because that's so near the center of the midriff and heart, that'll be dangerous. At which point Strozza goes, no, never mind, we're not doing that. So I'm with you on the whole kind of treating it comedically, and it might actually be really fun for him to go kind of all the way into the extremes, right? So he's come in with an arrow in his rib, going, "It's fine, I'm fine, it's okay, I'll just take a deep breath and you pull it. Wait, hang on, we have to operate? No, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing. Okay, sir, hang on. Yes, I'm a manly man. You shut up, woman. I can take this." And that just being the joke of how this is done.
Okay, let's go forward, gather more data on what this play is doing. Act 4, Scene 2, enter Vincentio with a letter in his hand, and also Bassiolo.
"This is her letter, sir. Now you shall see how silly I think 'tis in respect of mine, and what a simple woman she has proved to refuse mine for hers. I pray, look here."
Doctor, I know not, I being her sworn servant, if I may put up these disgraceful words given of my mistress, without touch of honour.
"The disgraceful words? I protest I speak not to disgrace her, but to grace myself."
Nay then, sir, if it be to grace yourself, I'm content. Otherwise, I was to take exceptions to a king.
Nay, you are the right for that. But read, I pray, if there be no more words if there be not more choice words in that letter than in any 3 of Guevara's golden epistles, I am a very ass. How think you, Vince?
My heavens, no less, sir. It is the best. Gods, what a beast am I!
It's no matter. I can set it together again.
Pardon me, sir. I protest I was ravished. But was it possible she should prefer hers before this?
No, sir. She cried fie upon this.
I must say nothing. Love is blind, and can find no fault in his beloved.
Nay, that's most certain.
Give to me. I'll have this letter.
No, I'm convinced 'tis not worth it.
I'll have it, faith. It is enough to serve to my letters as long as I live. I'll keep the breed on, as 'twere. And much wonder you could make her right.
Indeed, there were some words belonged to that.
How strong an influence works in well-placed words. And yet there must be a prepared love to give those words so mighty a command, or 'twere impossible they should move so much. Will you tell me true?
In anything.
Does not this lady love you?
Love me? Why, yes, I think she does not hate me.
No, but if Faith, does she not love you dearly?
No, I protest.
No, you never kissed her?
Kissed her? Well, that's nothing.
My meaning, have you not been, one would say, for me?
Not I swear.
Oh, you are too true to tell.
Nay, by my troth, she has, I must confess, used me with good respect and nobly, still, But for such matters...
Very little more would make him take her maidenhead upon him. Oh, well, friend, I rest in a little doubt. This was not hers.
'Twas by that light that shines. And I'll go fetch her for you to confirm it.
Oh, passing friend.
But when she comes, in any case, be bold and come upon her with some pleasing thing to show you're pleased, however she behaves her. As, for example, if she turns her back, use you that action you would do before, and court her thus. Lady, your back part is as fair to me as is your fore part.
It will be most pleasing.
Aye, and if you love her, my script will run away. If you love one part above another, 'tis a sign you like not all alike. And the worst part about your mistress you must think as fair, as sweet, as dainty, as the very best thing. So much for so much. And considering, too, each several limb and member in his kind.
As a man should.
And it's true. Will you think of this?
Oh, I hope I shall.
But if she chance to laugh, you must not lose your countenance, but devise some speech to show you pleased, even being laughed at.
What speech?
God's precious man, do something yourself. But devise a speech.
He studies.
Inspiring folly.
'Tis no matter, be but bold enough, and laugh when she laughs, and it is enough. I'll fetch her to you.
Exit Bassiolo.
Now, was there ever such a demi-lance to bear a man so clear through thick and thin?
Enter Bassiolo.
Or hark you, sir, if she should steal a laughter under her fan, thus you may say, sweet lady, if you will laugh and lie down, I am pleased.
And so I were, by heaven. How know you that?
Slade man, I'll hit your very thoughts in these things.
Fetch her. Sweet friend, I'll hit your words, I warrant.
Be bold, then, Vince, and press her to it hard. A shame-faced man is of all women barred.
Exit Bassiolo.
How easily worthless men take worth upon them, and being over-credulous of their own worths, do underprize as much the worth of others. The fool is rich, and absurd riches thinks all merit is wrung out where his purse chinks.
And my lord,
Bassiolo and Margaret.
my lord, with much entreaty, here's my lady. Nay, madam, look not back. What Vince is saying?
Lynn? Oh, monstrous jest.
To her, for shame.
Lady, your back part is as sweet to me as all your fore part.
He missed a little. He said her back part was sweet when he should have said fair. But she laughs, most fitly to bring in another. Vince, to her again, she laughs.
Laugh you, fair dame. If you will laugh and lie down, I am pleased.
What villainous stuff is here?
Sweet mistress of mere grace, symboled, and now the kind young prince here. It is only love, upon my protestation, that doth thus daunts his most heroic spirit. So a while I'll leave you close together. Vince.
Exit Bassiolo.
Oh, horrible hearing. Does he call you Vince?
What else? I made him embrace me, knitting a most familiar league of friendship.
But wherefore did you court me so absurdly?
Godspeed, he taught me. I spake out of him.
Oh, fie upon it. Could you for pity make him such a poor creature? 'Twas abuse enough to make him take on such saucy friendship, and yet his place is great, for he's not only my father's usher, but the world's beside, because he goes before it all in folly.
Well, in these homely wilds must our loves mask, since power denies him his apparent right.
But is there no mean to dissolve that power, and to prevent all further wrong to us, which it may work by forcing marriage rites betwixt me and the Duke?
No mean, but one, and that is to be closely married first. Which I perceive not how we can perform. For my father's coming back from hunting, I fear your father and himself resolved to bar my interest with his present nuptials.
That shall they never do. May not we now our contract make, and marry before heaven? Are not the laws of God and nature more than formal laws of men? Are outward rites more virtuous than the very substance is of holy nuptials solemnized within? Or shall laws made to curb the common world, that will not be contained in form without them, hurt them that are a law unto themselves? My princely love, 'tis not a priest shall let us, but since the eternal acts of our pure souls knit us with God, the soul of all the world, he shall be priest to us, and with such rites as we can here devise, we will express and strongly ratify our heart's true vows, which no external violence shall dissolve.
This is our only means to enjoy each other. My dear life, I will devise a form to execute the substance of our minds in honoured nuptials. First then, hide your face with this, your spotless white and virgin veil. Now, this, my scarf, I'll knit about your arm, and as you shall knit this other end on mine, and as I knit it, here I vow by heaven, by the most sweet imaginary joys of untried nuptials, by love's ushering fire for melting beauty, and love's flame itself. As this is soft and pliant to your arm in a circumferent flexure, so will I be tender of your welfare and your will, as of mine own, as of my life and soul in all things, and forever. Only you shall have this care in fullness, only you of all dames shall be mine, and only you I'll court, commend, and joy in, till I die.
With like conceit on your arm this I tie, and here in sight of heaven, by it I swear, by my love to you, which commands my life, by the dear price of such a constant husband as you have vowed to be, and by the joy I shall embrace by all means to requite you. I'll be as apt to govern as this silk, as private as my face is to this veil, and as far from offence as this from blackness. I will be courted of no man but you, in and for you shall be my joys and woes. If you be sick, I will be sick though well. If you be well, I will be well though sick. Yourself alone my complete world shall be, even from this hour to all eternity.
It is enough, binds as much as marriage.
Enter Bassiolo.
I'll see in what plight my poor lover stands. God's me. Beckons me to have me gone. It seems he's entered into some good vein. I'll hence. Love cureth when he vents his pain.
Exit Bassiolo.
Now, my sweet life, we both remember well what we have vowed shall all be kept entire, maugre our father's wraths, danger, and death. And to confirm this, shall we spend our breath? Well advised, but yet your choice shall be in all things as before, as large and free.
What I have vowed I'll keep, even past my death.
And I. Now, in token, I dissolve your virgin state. I take this snowy veil from your much fairer face, and claim the dues of sacred nuptials. And now, fairest heaven, as thou art infinitely raised from earth, different and opposite, so bless this match, as far removed from customs, popular sects, and as unstained with her abhorred respects.
Enter Bassiolo.
Mistress, away! Poggio runs up and down calling for my lord Vincentio. Come away! For hitherward he bends with clamorous haste.
Remember, love.
Exit Margaret and Bassiolo.
Or else forget me, heaven. Why am I so far by this Poggio? Yes, he's great with child of some ill news. Mouth is never filled with other sound.
Enter Poggio.
Where is my lord Vincentio? Where is my lord?
Here he is. So what exclaiming keepst thou?
Slab, my lord, I have followed you up and down like a Tantalus pig. Till I have worn out my hose hereabouts, I'll be sworn, and yet you call me ass still. But I can tell you passing ill news, my lord.
I know that well, sir. Thou never bringst other. But what's your news now, I pray?
Oh, Lord. My lord uncle is shot in the side with an arrow.
Please take thy tongue. Is he in any danger?
Oh, danger? Aye. He has lain speechless these 2 hours and talks so idly.
Cursed news. Where is he? Bring me to him.
Yes. Do you lead and I'll guide you to him.
And exeunt. Okay, we have another lengthy series of sort of two-handers doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I have to say, there's part of me sort of sitting there going, okay, more cruelty to the poor gentleman usher, but it's really funny cruelty, and I kind of am sort of going, I know morally I should be objecting to this, but there's some really good gags, and Lady, your back part is as fair to me as your forepart as an opening gambit. Was very nicely played. Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, I think I find the previous scene with Margaret and Bassiolo, whatever his name is, now kind of justified, because it sets up this rather delightful gag or set of gags, and it gives me a sense too, especially with the romantic bit that comes after, that maybe what's going on is not two cruel young people or two posh kids making fun of an employee, but two young people whose lives are constantly circumscribed by the old, who are always being told what to do, finally finding an old guy that they can take it out on.
Nice.
And I kind of like that, and I quite liked their love scene. So there.
Yes, well, yeah. When we get to that, absolutely, we get this delightful little thing. Well, let's have a little marriage ceremony of our own. We'll devise a marriage ceremony. What do we want? Let's make up our own vows. Lynn.
Boy, am I curious now if this play works on stage. I mean, we have read stuff from this period where it's just sort of careering all over the place, and the writer doesn't seem to be able to manage tone, or maybe that's a result of collaboration. It's just like, we've seen texts, it's like, it doesn't know what it wants to be. And this, and I can't really justify this, it's just an intuition, that these changes in direction are designed, they're deliberate. That we go from this kind of super dramatic scene where a character, one of the main characters or main supporting characters, dangerously wounded, to this kind of silly scene. It's like, I can't believe I'm going to call you Vince. Are you kidding? Okay, all right. But what about us? Okay. And so change of mood even within that scene. And really, I don't know how I'm supposed to respond, but I found that wooing really, really persuasive. I found it really touching, and the poetry and the metaphors really lovely. And then, of course, it's intermittently interrupted by Bassiolo coming in, like, hurry up, there's coming, So, yeah, I really wonder if this kind of craziness actually works on stage.
I have to say, I entirely agree. It is incredibly well structured. It knows what it's doing. I mean, how effective. I mean, there's to say that the only real problem I'm having is that feeling that with Bassiolo that we're slightly punching down as a text generally. Then there's part of me going, I kind of don't care because it's done so well, and that just makes me a bad person. So and I can probably live with that. Alan, then Alexandra.
I must admit, my take on that scene is diametrically opposite to that Aliki's expressed. I think it is two posh kids punching down and enjoying every damn second of it, and getting away with it so far. And I must admit, the love scene that followed it, I put in the chat past the sick bag, because it just felt so icky.
Alexandra.
I think that part of the issue and part of the way to resolve it is in how you direct this whole thing. How much the audience is supposed to identify with / sympathize with Bassiolo, and how much they're supposed to look down on him. Because if you're asking an audience to look down on this character, then as a production, you're taking on some unsavory responsibilities. Whereas if the audience is having fun with it, and if the stakes are not, Bassiolo is taking everything seriously, but we know he's not actually in any danger, then you can have a lot of fun with that, and so can an audience. Because a scene like this one with the two young people, yes, you could direct it as these are two posh kids who are abusing a servant, or you could treat it as, no, look, these are the only people who are on the same wavelength together, because not only do they make fun of the servant, but they make fun of him in the same way, and they are kind of immediately pick up on each other's gag, and they enjoy the same kind of humor, and this is evidence that they love each other and that they're meant to be together. Especially if it doesn't have catastrophic consequences for Bassiolo's mental health.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good point there. It's, this is entirely kept within the group, isn't it? I mean, it's only these two are in on the gag. They're not making him go out and do something demonstrative. Because you can in a room of people, he's not going to call Vincentio Vince, because his training will kick in and things. So it seems like the stakes are kept very, very low, and it doesn't, in that sense, doesn't feel mean in a way it could otherwise do. I mean, I don't know where the play's going to go with it. I mean, he might it might become public, but we'll see. That's for next time. Lynn?
Yeah, so much depends on how this resolves in the end. If Bassiolo never really figures out that they were both playing him, if in the end Vincentio goes, okay, we're still buds, but we can't really act like we're buds in front of everybody, okay, but fist bump, you come work for me when I'm Duke, you will be generously compensated and you'll always be my guy. Bassiolo gets something out of it. He gets kind of a promotion from a lord's household or an earl's household to the head of state's household. So, and if he never really figures out that they were dragging him around on purpose, he's happy. So as long as he's not like publicly humiliated and he's happy in the end, I think we can live with what's going on.
Anyway, we must read our final scene of the session and see what that gives us. I think we're going to go to some other characters, not just these two or three, because it's very, it's irritatingly large room in a sense for the number of people who've actually said anything. Apologies for anyone who's drawn the short straw today. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Strozza, brought in a chair. Cynanche with others.
How fares it now with my dear lord and husband?
Come near me, wife. I fare the better far for the sweet food of thy divine advice. Let no man value at a little price a virtuous woman's counsel. Her winged spirit is feathered oftentimes with heavenly words, and, like her beauty, ravishing and pure, the weaker body still the stronger soul. When good endeavours do her powers apply, her love draws nearest man's felicity. Oh, what a treasure is this virtuous wife, discreet and loving. Not one gift on earth makes a man's life so highly bound to heaven. She gives him double forces to endure and to enjoy, by being one with him, feeling his joys and griefs with equal sense. And like the twins Hippocrates reports, if he fetch sighs, she draws her breath as short. If he lament, she melts herself in tears. If he be glad, she triumphs. If he stir, she moves his way. In all things his sweet ape, and is in alterations passing strange, himself divinely varied without change. Gold is right precious, but his price infects with pride and avarice. Authority lifts hats from men's heads and bows the strongest knees, yet cannot bend in rule the weakest hearts. Music delights but one sense, nor choice meats, one quickly fades, the other stirs to sin. But a true wife both sense and soul delights, and mixeth not her good with any ill. Her virtues, ruling hearts, all powers command. All store without her leaves a man but poor, and with her poverty is exceeding store. No time is tedious with her. Her true worth makes a true husband think his arms enfold, with her alone a complete world of gold.
I wish, dear love, I could deserve as much as your most kind conceit hath well expressed. When my best is done, I see you wounded, and neither can recure nor ease your pains.
Cynanche, thy advice hath made me well. My free submission to the hand of heaven makes it redeem me from the rage of pain. For though I know the malice of my wound shoots still the same distemper through my veins, yet the judicial patience I embrace, in which my mind spreads her impassive powers through all my suffering parts, expels their frailty, and rendering up their whole life to my soul, leaves me naught else but soul, and so, like her, free from the passions of my fuming blood.
Would God you were so, and that too much pain were not the reason you felt sense of none.
Think'st thou me mad, Cynanche? For madmen, by pains ungoverned, have no sense of pain. But I tell you, am quite contrary. Eased with well governing, my submitted pain, be cheered then, wife, and look not for, in me, the manners of a common wounded man. Humility hath raised me to the stars, in which, as in a sort of crystal globes, I sit and see things hid from human sight. Ay, even the very accidents to come are present with my knowledge. The seventh day the arrowhead will fall out of my side. The seventh day, wife, the forked head will out.
Would God it would, my lord, and leave you well.
Yes, the seventh day, I am assured it will. And I shall live, I know it. I thank heaven, I know it well. And I'll teach my physician to build his cures hereafter upon heaven, more than on earthly medicines, for I know many things shown me from the opened skies that pass all arts. Now my physician is coming to me. He makes friendly haste, and I will well requite his care of me.
How know you he is coming?
Passing well, and that my dear friend, Lord Vincentio, will presently come to see me too. I'll stay, my good physician, till my true friend come.
I me his talk is idle, and I fear foretells his reasonable soul now leaves him.
Bring my physician in, he's at the door.
Alas, there's no physician.
But I know it. See, he is come.
Enter Benevemus, the doctor.
How fares my worthy lord?
Good doctor, I endure no pain at all, and the seventh day the arrow's head will out.
Why should it fall out on the seventh day, my lord?
I know it. The seventh day it will not fail.
I wish it may, my lord.
Yes, 'twill be so. You come with purpose to take present leave, but you shall stay a while. My lord Vincentio would see you fain, and now is coming hither.
How knows your lordship? Have you sent for him?
No, but 'tis very true. He's now hard by, and will not hinder your affairs a whit.
His want of rest distempers his light brain. Brings my lord any train?
None but himself. My nephew, Poggio, now hath left his grace. A good doctor, go, and bring him by his hand, which he will give you, to my longing eyes.
'Tis strange if this be true.
Exit Benevemus.
The prince, I think, yet knows naught of your hurt.
Enter Vincentio, holding the doctor's hand.
Yes, wife, too well. See, he is come. Welcome, my princely friend. I have been shot, my lord, but the 7th day the arrow's head will fall out of my side, and I shall live.
Do not fear your life. Doctor, is it your opinion that the 7th day the arrowhead will out?
No, 'tis not his opinion, 'tis my knowledge, for I do know it well. And I do wish, even for your own sake, my noble lord, this were the 7th day, and I now were well, that I might be some strength to your hard state. For you have many perils to endure. Great is your danger, great. Your unjust ill is passing foul and mortal. Would to God my wound were something well, I might be with you. Nay, do not whisper. I know what I say, too well for you, my lord. I wonder heaven will let such violence threat an innocent life.
Whate'er it be, dear friend, so you be well, I will endure it all. Your wounded state is all the danger I fear towards me.
Nay, mine is nothing, for the 7th day this arrowhead will out, and I shall live. And so shall you, I think, but very hardly. It will be hardly you will scrape indeed.
Be as will be. Pray heaven your prophecy be happily accomplished in yourself. Nothing can then come amiss to me.
What says my doctor? Thinks he I say true?
If your good lordship could but rest a while, I would hope well.
Yes, I shall rest, I know, if that will help your judgment.
Yes, it will. And, good my lord, let's help you in to try.
You please me much. I shall sleep instantly.
Exeunt. In 1955, there was a film called Time Slip in which someone has a brain injury and then is out of sync with time so that he can see into the future by a few minutes. And, well, apparently that's what happened to Strozza with the arrow wound. He now can see into the future. Who's going to come in? It'd be great if he could do the races. And the 5:15 at Chesto will be, Briony.
Yeah, so my thoughts, as I was reading it, I presumed that he was going into shock and delirious. And then I got a bit confused. But I think I'm right, and I think it's a bluff. And I think his first couple of predictions have come true because they're things, he's been shot. The doctor could possibly be on his way to visit him quite soon. His friend might well come round and visit. They're easy things to have coincidentally got right. And I think that, everybody's going to expect him to live and on the 7th day, and he's going to die.
Prediction there. So he's saying yes, because of course he's predicting the arrows are just going to drop out on the 7th day. It'll all be fine. Whereas you're going with death. You're going cake or death.
I see his prediction, and I raise him another prediction of death.
Yeah. Lynn.
That's such a Briony thing. I mean, right? That's like, and then I'm going to say the Lynn thing. Yeah, I think maybe what the conceit here is, the way I'm reading this, is that Strozza is sort of in that liminal space between life and death. He is at death's door, and that gives him supernatural insight. And that he's gonna live. It's gonna happen the way he predicted. And as he's saying, Vincentio is gonna be okay, but it's gonna come really close to getting in some big trouble before it's all over. So, I mean, this is just a playwright saying, I've dabbled in everything else. I'm going to have romance now. Now we're going to have fairy tale, or, yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. Yes, it's like he grabs Vincentio's hand and goes, it will all come all right in the end. There will be dragons and things on the path towards virtue. Briony.
I also feel like we need to talk about this really weird speech that he had about how great his wife was, but it was still mansplaining and patronising and misogynist.
Yeah. started out okay, but then he's like, everything he does, she imitates him. It's just like, oh, you had to fuck it up, right? I mean, like, you couldn't just stop with, I love having a wife who loves me and it makes my life wonderful. No, you couldn't stop there.
But there is something quite funny about that, because in a sense he's talking about how I've sort of like he's changed. No, he hasn't. You know, he's just in pain. That's the difference here. And yeah, claiming changes that aren't there. Alexandra.
And I think yes, and I think it would be fabulous to direct that in such a way where the wife starts by really believing it, and then as the speech goes on, she kind of realizes that okay, no, because it would be a way into this kind of text for us as an audience is watching someone else figure out that, you know, it's patronizing and so on. I really liked the stage direction, enter Vincentio holding the doctor's hand, because I hadn't noticed that the doctor had exited, so I really couldn't place that. What's happened moments before is Benevemus exited, Cynanche says a line and a half, and then enter Vincentio holding the doctor's hand, so presumably it's you know,
it's still attached, yes.
Well, no, and also they sort of come back together. Either Benevemus has gone to the door and grabbed Vincentio in, or he's gone to the door and been grabbed by Vincentio coming back. Yeah, I just very much enjoyed that. On the other hand, it's interesting. I haven't been around to see the relationship that Vincentio and Strozza have before, so this is my only kind of clue into how it works. But it's very interesting if Vincentio is a character that we're supposed to sympathize with and or at least wish well on, and perhaps the opposite for Strozza, or at least we're supposed to kind of find Strozza not to be taken seriously. The way in which Vincentio does take the accident seriously, and, you know, really is concerned for his friend and so on, I think is a nice additional layer to them both. Characterization wise,
the play opens with Strozza and Poggio and Cynanche. A scene that at the beginning I found quite impenetrable and sort of going, I'm not quite sure why this is here. I think we now know why it's here, because actually the Strozza is going to be the central part of his own divination plot that none of us saw coming, really. And there is a brief exchange with Vincentio where they sort of basically he's sort of sympathetic to Vincentio's position. Vincentio gets to do his initial information dump about, you know, liking Margaret, and Dad's quite keen, you know, it's all a bit awkward. I'm not sure they interact very much after that. Oh, they do, but I think with a lot of other people on stage at the same time. So I'm not sure they have a developed relationship together in the text. But I could be wrong on that point, because I've probably just forgotten things. Lynn, then Sarah.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good friends. So I just wanted to say I really liked Alexandra's sort of directorial take on that rather long monologue of Strozza's, because it is written in 3 or 4 kind of movements, kind of set of metaphors, and then he moves to a different sort of rhetorical tack. So he could finish one part and his wife is about to say, oh dear, that's such a lovely thing to say, and then he starts over with his second. Okay, that's so nice, and then she's about to respond, and he starts over. And so by the end of like his long speech, she's like, are you done?
Absolutely, and I think it gives us a clue to that earlier thing when we were saying at the beginning of the act, when he comes in with the arrow, you know, how are we taking that scene? How are we taking those speeches? I think it's got to be slightly over the top and comic, because it leads into this scene where it's even more so. And I think, you know, yes, we have that balance between, yes, he's in pain, yes, he's probably dying, but also he's just so over the top and at the same time. Sarah.
Yeah, from what I remember of yesterday, Strozza is very much Vincentio's right-hand man. I mean, he's his pal. That was the impression I got yesterday. He is the person who he confides in, and he is the person who knows his innermost heart. And I mean, even today, earlier in the scene when we had that big scene, I can't find it now, but with lots of people milling around, Strozza was the person who Vincentio turns to and says, look, they're whispering together, they're plotting, when he's talking about his father. So I'm fairly certain that like Strozza is meant to be his ally. So I find this whole plot really fascinating from a structural point of view. The fact that it's the ally who has been hit with the arrow, not the hero. That's quite an interesting choice to have been made, and I'm intrigued about where it's going to go tomorrow.
Yes, I think I was just skipping through the script and going, yes, you're right. They have various sort of a plotty moments because, of course, they're working towards getting to Margaret, and of course that's part of the reason that Strozza is a target of Medici, because he's sort of seeing, they're plotting over there. He's getting in the way of my one-upmanship with my favoured lord. So yeah, there is actually quite an integrated plot here that does work, which is nice. Alan.
I must admit, from thinking back over the previous interactions between Strozza and Vincentio, I think Strozza is a senior lord within the court, for whom Vincentio has a use. So to a certain extent, you're getting a similar sort of relationship that Vincentio has with Bassiolo, except that the difference in stratum of society is lesser, therefore he can't be quite as nasty as he is with Bassiolo. But I get the impression that Vincentio is a user. He will use anybody as a stepping stone to what he wants and sod the consequences for them.
I'm not sure that's wholly fair, but we're not at the end of the play yet, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Okay, we're into final thoughts. So, final thoughts around the room. Briony, what do you think of the show so far?
Yes, it's I don't know, it's baffling me a bit, this one. Yeah, because I like it as much as I don't like it. Like, there's times when I lost a bit of interest when we had the long two-handery sort of scenes, and I was with Alan a little bit looking for my sick bag over here. But there's also been some really lovely moments, and that Strozza scene was just mental, and I really can't wait to see which of our predictions will be correct. So yeah, it's grabbed my interest for sure, this one.
I mean, I think there's a problem with us as as a reading group. Is of course when we have a session like this, where in fact only about 3 people really got to go. There's a point when it's not your turn of sitting there going. And obviously in a playhouse context, watching a play, that's not the same necessarily effect. I found that a couple of times where sort of going, it's the same voices for a long time. This is that's not what we do. We have more ensemble-y things. Most of the time we do have very ensemble-y things. Well, this one does seem to have effectively star parts, and a great deal more than others. Which we haven't really seen that much of, certainly not of late. Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
I thought I was muted, but I wasn't. I think that tonally this play keeps shifting. It keeps shifting quite radically between sort of almost genres. And I was like, and I keep telling myself, no, this is supposed to be funny. We're supposed to be laughing here. So when Strozza's pretty much dying from his wounds and talking about the 7th day, on the 7th day I shall rise again, on the 7th day I'll be fine, on the 7th day the arrowhead will fall out. I thought that's supposed to be funny, but I can't help thinking that it's quite tragic, and you can't help feeling quite sorry for him. And then we had the whole scene with the letter, and Margaret and the Gentleman Usher, and it's write this, no, I'll write it. It has to sound like it's come from a woman's brains, which I thought, okay, that's humorous as well. But we've come such a long way from the play within the play, with the fawn and Sylvanus and the bugs, which was also playful and such in jest. I feel like that the tonal shifts are giving me sort of a dramatic whiplash. and I'm not sure how it sticks together with it changing so much in tone throughout. So I'm just interested to see how it resolves.
At the moment, I'm seeing Strozza as a operatic diva in the final act. It does feel like, I'm dying, but I have a few arias to get through first, kind of thing. Which does seem to sort of fit. But you're right. There is a tonal important thing, because if this thing is mostly a comedy, which it mostly is, I think the whole thing is a comedy. I don't think that. But we have got someone who's just been shot with an arrow. I mean, it's it is somewhat. There is an attempted murder in the middle of a comedy, and assuming it's comedy, it might end it tragically, and they might all die horribly. I mean, there might be the Duke might turn out to actually be a total bastard and just take out all his rivals. I don't know. We haven't got there yet. Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it now. I feel like I've tuned into what it's doing with the humor, and I quite like my idea that it's to some extent a generational battle. I will be very surprised if Strozza actually dies. I think there's too much fun being had, but I will see.
Alan, any final thoughts?
I've been disappointed with the session today, because yesterday it was moving quite fast, quite a lot of incident. Today just seems to have dragged, and I mean it is partly due to the fact we've had those 2-3 scenes with extended dialogues, which with not a lot of action going on. And to me, it does seem to be, we've had some fun. Now we're going to do serious people. I think if you put the interval after this, I suspect you might find a number of empty seats when the bar empties. People say, sod this from Game of Soldiers, I'm going home.
I think what we're lacking here is, of course, audience laughter. I mean, I think you've got to remember all of those two-hander scenes are comic scenes. They are designed to have a sort of ongoing titter stream going underneath them. I mean, obviously, the question is whether we can achieve that effect. But they are funny in a way that the first two acts aren't. The two acts are sort of silly. There's a lot of comedy scenes in them, but we have got these two masks, and but there isn't, in a sense, room for the kind of laughter that the three-hander scenes that we've had here are sort of aiming to get out of the audience. And of course, we're sitting here and we're not laughing, or if we are laughing, we've muted ourselves. So in that sense, when we're talking about there isn't any action, what we're missing is the action of our rib cages, which is an important dynamic quality for any comedy, because that's always one of the problems we have with comedy. Is the other thing is we can't respond to them fully, and therefore give them their joy, because there's nothing worse than a comedy where nobody laughs, and of course until we have an audience we don't know for certain if that's actually the effect we're going to get. Sarah, any final thoughts?
I'm finding this play really fascinating. Because it's so ambiguous. I thought it was really interesting what Alexandra was saying earlier about how, depending on how you directed this play, you could direct it as Vincentio and Margaret being sort of, very selfish, self-absorbed young people, or you could direct it as, they really get each other. They're the only people who get each other. And then Alan's take about it being, posh people punching down. And then Aliki's take about it being, more about like a generational conflict. And the thing I find interesting is that all four of those perspectives fit so far on what we've read so far, or at least how I interpret it, what we've read so far. I could make a case, putting my director's head on, I could make a case for directing the play in any of those ways, or indeed all of them. The one idea doesn't cancel out the other. It's possible that they are the two people who really get each other. And they are also the two people who are like totally thwarted by the older generation. And at the same time, they could be incredibly selfish and thoughtless and punching down. You know, the one doesn't really cancel out the other. There's an incredible amount of complexity in the characterization, and consequently a lot of ambiguity. And so I really don't know. Like I couldn't again, putting on my director's head, I couldn't say at this point in the play, because I haven't read it before, which way these characters, who these characters are, because it's really going to come down to context. It's going to come down to the outcome of the play and how people behave to each other, you know, as the stakes get raised at the end of the play. And because it's a comedy, you know, things are worked out and harmony is restored. The way in which that harmony is restored, and the way in which the characters behave towards each other, that is gonna, for me, going to perhaps fix my perspective about how I would direct this play if I was directing it. But at the moment, I have no clue, honestly, because I think all of those perspectives are valid. And I just feel that this is a playwright who really knows their stuff and is gaming us. You know, I was saying earlier about the whole thing seems to be interested in games, and I think the audience is being gamed too. And I think as long as you sort of sit back and allow yourself to be gamed, you're going to have a good time watching this. Yes, but it will depend hugely on how it ends.
Yes, as ever, the question of the curse of the final session. But there is also an element that a lot of things we're discussing are stuff that an audience might not notice in the heat of the moment. With a good production that's light and fluffy and moving at pace, actually, a lot of these questions about whether it's punching down or whatever might not actually really arise until you're in the car on the way home. I suspect, with examples of other plays, that kind of question issue does actually, in practice, arise because of the sort of individual situations of scenes just being funny individual scenes. So it may be actually that some of the issues we're raising just sort of quietly disappear. Doesn't mean they're not issues and that they're not things that we shouldn't discuss, but they might, in practice, sort of slide away and disappear into the background for discussion after the show. Alexandra, any final thoughts?
Yes, I disagree with you with the last thing you were saying. I think the issues of, wait a second, should I be laughing at this? They do come up immediately, and as they did for us. You know, it's not because we stop to analyze and discuss the text. It's because you hear it and you go, wait. So it's a very swift instinctive reaction. I think we cannot rely on an audience not noticing things as people putting on productions. I think that's never the thing to rest on or to lean on. Don't think about that. Just and even when it's a question of those ideas or those thoughts or those issues only come up on the car on the way home, that doesn't raise the value of my production if those issues still exist. But I think if the production addresses that, like, you know, does not pretend these are not potentially problematic things, but instead chooses how it's going to treat them, then I think as an audience you get what the parameters are, and then you are okay with laughing at things that are otherwise tragic because of the context in which you are being made to laugh. You know, some of the stuff, I don't know, Blackadder comes to mind. Some of the jokes in that are punching down. Some of the jokes in that are about really terrible things. But you still laugh because of what you're watching. And I think this is a kind of intentionally done comedy with tragic relief, as reverse to tragedy with comic relief. Like there are things, you know, there are these potentially serious moments so that you get as an audience, and they don't have to be tragic in the sense of sad, you know, you get the lovers getting together and having a moment of but we can't be together, and then resolving it in a sweet way. And that's, you know, a minute of your 90-minute production that's a relief from all the laughter before and after. I don't think us laughing is the thing that's missing. I think it's the nature of this being a prepared, practiced kind of, a performance that the actors have worked on and have sped up the speech of, and are putting in action into, and it's apparently naturalistic, but it goes at a very fast pace, so that we as an audience would both kind of be able to follow and also be engaged in, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I think once you do that, when you're putting on a production, these scenes won't feel long, and they won't feel like nothing's happening in them, because actually there's a lot of progress in very little text in terms of what is occurring. I think it's a very, we've been saying this in the chat, it's structurally very well constructed, and I think also within the scenes themselves, it's not the issue we've had in other places of, this is so excessive, why is there so much talking? So yeah, it's got lots of things going for it. I think it would be great to see it put on, unless it goes horribly wrong in the end.
Yeah, still time for it to go horribly wrong, people. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so many thoughts. Well, there's so much good stuff has already been said. I mean, I think Alan has a point that those two-handers may drag a little. I've talked about the editor's pruning shears before, and I think we might need the editor's scalpel for this one. You'd have to workshop it a little and see if we really need all of that. And I think Sarah's right. You can have all the takes at the same time, and they don't necessarily cancel each other out. And I think her idea about games is so smart. There's another early modern play where a woman who's being wooed said, "Oh, I thought it was just pastime and pleasant game. I thought this was just a game." So that metaphor of courtship and pastime and game was present. It was available in this period. So yeah, that theme of game and pastime is totally there. Oh, what else was I going to say? And Elizabeth's thing about whiplash. I mean, that's like genre whiplash. Like yes, that's what's going on here, right? I mean, it's kind of like a roller coaster. Is that an American thing? But and those long scenes are the roller coasters climbing, and it goes out like that and goes around the corner. So that's how it feels, and that's how it should feel. And those changes in pace can make it really enjoyable. And I think that's what I think a director, like a conductor of a symphony, has to pick tempo really carefully, and those changes in tempo are what make it fun. So yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts about this, and like my final thought is kind of meta, that the fact that so many different people from so many different perspectives have so much smart stuff to say about this play, that's got to mean there's something here.
Yeah, and yeah, talking about we've got these long scenes, but we've also got this play pays for the long scenes with the action of some of the other scenes orbiting them, and we talked about that last time. It's structurally so clever. I think you're absolutely right. The director has to be very careful with those two-handers when they come in, of not milking them too much for laughs, because that's where you're going, aha, for funny business stuff that I can fit in here, and suddenly the two-hander scenes that you've worked really hard with 2 or 3 actors suddenly becomes this never-ending display rather than something that fits within the play, and that's always the thing of keep fitting everything within the matrix of what this play is doing, of which I think it has a very, very well developed matrix of stuff. Stephen, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm like everybody else, really. I suppose the generic thing really, really interests me. I really like the construction. I wonder if, to address, I think it was Aliki's earlier point about the sort of new comedy element of it, the outwitting the elders. The elder generation in this, for all we know, are complete sodden psychopaths. And so Bassiolo is a kind of placeholder, because they really do have a problem, I think. It's not at all clear how they're going to get the Duke out of the way, or get the Duke to change his kind of tack. And his henchman, of course, is like bloody Joe Pesci. He's just going to stick somebody in the boot if they get in his way. So I wonder if that's going on. And I suppose My feeling about it is that the elevator pitch is MGM musical meets Scorsese gangster flick, because there's this kind of strange, some of it works beautifully as romantic comedy, I think, in which case, the punching down thing is all in good heart and what have you. But the frame of it is that, people are being taken out. This guy comes in with this great big gunshot wound, and then we're not sure how to take it, because then he just goes off into this strange kind of set of speeches, and so I wonder if, the kind of, we can assume an audience really who's really clued up on genre, and they know how one kind of play goes and another kind of play goes. And you can imagine the elevator pitch, can't you? It's kind of like, well, okay, but has anybody ever put this and that together? Will that work? Will we end up with something going straight to video, or will we end up with In Bruges or something? How can we actually manage this? So that I'm really, really interested in how the danger, which is kind of, people have had their finger in the ears about for the last few scenes of the elder generation, how that's going to be managed or wished away. And, here we are 2/3 of the way through it. I'm still really, really interested. I don't know how it's going to go. I can't see how it's going to turn out. I can't see how they're going to solve the problems they seem to have set themselves up with. The dramatist has. But I'm really, really confident I'm going to hang in there, because it's so beautifully well put together and so beautifully well observed about genre, but also about how to do a great set piece scene. So, yeah. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm seeing it's the I have to say, the Godfather lens on this does create all sorts of interesting questions, especially considering the nature of all the character names. That would create all sorts of interesting effects, especially all this stuff about embracing and between the Gentleman Usher and. All sorts of interesting things there, which may or may not help the comedy or not, but would be interesting. Anyway, on that note, we have to close the session. One more session to go. Hopefully it will not be cursed. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Does he call you Vince?